Well, it's a week after the midterms, and we still don't know which party controls the House of Representatives. We're getting closer. We'll take a hard look at the conservative message and the messengers in this episode of Dale Carter's America.
From the heart of flyover country, he's not on the far right, and he's certainly not on the far left. Like you, he's somewhere in the middle. This is Dale Carter's America.
Well, I'm Dale Carter. Of course, you know Kurt over here as well. And I have pledged Kurt that today I'm going to be nicer.
Oh,
there will be fewer F-bombs. I think one of the people who wrote in said that I was stooping to the level of a third grader. Do you know a lot of third graders who drop F-bombs?
I don't know, but that's a pretty deep cut right there.
All right. So, but I do think I have the facts and logic on my side, and we'll get to all of that coming up. But first, the big news that delayed our podcast by 24 hours came from Mar-a-Lago last night.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
All right, so it's out there, and we'll take a harder look at that coming up later in this podcast. Before we go any further, though, we want to thank our sponsors, of course, of the podcast, and we always start with Bob Watson. Bob's a great guy, and with surprising great rates at State Farm right now, you can get the Patrick rate. I mean, we've got Patrick on our team, and now they've got Andy Reid on the team, Kurt.
Yeah.
I mean, he's drawing mustaches on people. This is really a great time to be with State Farm, and really, it's more important than the commercials and all the cute ideas that come out is to have a guy on your side, and that guy who's on my side for the last 27 years is Bob Watson. He's at 7th and Main in Blue Springs, 816-229-7878. Auto, home, life, commercial insurance, licensed in both Kansas and Missouri. When you need somebody, you can't just call an 800 number because a lot of times, Kurt, those calls get routed to a country where English might be their fifth language.
That's true.
Okay? So with Bob Watson, you get great people in his office like Terry. Terry's been on my team for 27 years. She's been a part of what we do with insurance, and she'll be there for you as well. 816-229-7878, Blue Springs local State Farm agent for 5 decades, but again, licensed in both Kansas and Missouri, and he will definitely take care of you. And, of course, we always love to mention Funhouse Pizza, 50 Highway in Lee's Summit, 7 Highway in Blue Springs. Jim Dingman, one of our fine sponsors here, again, one of the early believers in what we've done on the podcast. When we've done the live episodes of the podcast, we've done them at Funhouse Pizza locations in both Lee's Summit and Blue Springs. He's always looking for employees. He even reached out to me again this week, Kurt, and he said, I need people. So if you know somebody who needs a job, send them to Jim Dingman. He will put them to work at Funhouse Pizza.
Yeah, he's always hiring, so
all right.
Hit him up.
And Royal Roofing and Solar is our third sponsor. We'll save them for a little bit later, Kurt. I've got a great way to tie them in. You're going to have to wait all the way to the end to hear about Austin's great company, but trust me, it will be worth it once we get there. So back to the news headlines. Democrats will control the Senate. We know that now. They have 50 seats. They could get 51 if Warnock beats Herschel Walker in the runoff election next month. All they need is 50, plus they've got Vice President Harris, so 51 really would be gravy for them.
Yeah. Yep.
So, to the House of Representatives we go, where the magic number is 218. As of the recording of this podcast, I think we're really, really close. It's 217, 209. Republicans hold the advantage. 218 is the majority. I mean, they've already done a vote for Speaker.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can do that until you have all of the races settled, but they've already done it. Kevin McCarthy will be the next Speaker of the House.
Yeah, it looks like Boebert is probably going to stay in Colorado, and then there's a couple in California here that they're still calling. But
believe it or not, there are some Republican areas of California.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's not just one big...
There's more Republicans in California than any other state, I believe.
Well, that makes sense. It's the biggest state population-wise in the country. So that's where we sit right now with the House. And, of course, now we know that the first candidate officially in for the 2024 campaign is Donald Trump. Back to the news headlines of the day. There was a lot of worry and stress about that missile that hit Poland that took out a couple of people, that it came from Russia. And if that had happened, that would have been Russia stepping over Article 5. An attack on one is an attack on all, and then we'd really be in the shit. Sorry, I know that's one dirty word for today. I'm trying to limit the amount of dirty words for today.
Put it in the swear jar.
Yeah. But apparently that missile did not come from Russia. It came from Ukraine. That, according to the White House.
Yep. It was a missile that was being fired at an incoming Russian missile or something, apparently. Yeah. I don't know.
Russia was bombing the Ukraine. They've got some anti-missile things. In fact, it may have been an American missile that ended up in Poland. So that's bad news for Poland, but doesn't trigger Article 5, at least at this point. I still think they're playing a really dangerous game.
My question is, why not? I mean, it's very interesting to me, the double standard with all this, and the uplifting of Ukraine to this, saint-like status. I mean, they're not a member of NATO. So isn't that true? If it's true of Russia, isn't it true of them? If they fire a missile into a NATO country, an attack on one is an attack on all. Doesn't that apply to them too?
That's a fair point, Kurt.
Just yesterday, Zelensky was, I muted the video because he's talking in Ukrainian, but he was, blaming it on Russia, saying, to fire missiles at NATO territory, this is a Russian missile attack on collective security. This is a very significant escalation. We must act. So doesn't that apply to him too? I guess not, because he's, the good guy, quote unquote, and Russia is the bad guy, quote unquote, as far as, the West, the establishment political order is concerned. And so he can do whatever he wants.
If the West had legitimate leadership or true leadership, I'm not going to say legitimate because that triggers a whole bunch of other stuff. If we had real leadership in the West, particularly in the White House, you would be working a back channel to Russia to stop this. It might not have happened at all. If you'd been in front of it, it might not have happened at all. But certainly months down the road, there should be some back channel going on. I'd be really disappointed. Well, I wouldn't be disappointed. I think I would believe it if, the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, is not working some sort of back channel with Russia.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we had serious leaders, they would be trying to find an end to this. They'd be working with Russia and Ukraine in order to find some kind of peace and to bring a stop to this conflict. But instead, we're promoting the conflict, and we're, just the other day, yesterday, I believe, the White House put out another presser asking for $37.7 billion more for Ukraine. And I mean, it's more like you can go to the whitehouse.gov website and read the presser. It's like $9 billion for COVID, relief or something like that. I mean, it's clear where their agenda and their priorities lie. They're asking for way more money for Ukraine than they are for any domestic, spending here in America, which, obviously would have problem with most of that too. But it's just amazing. I mean, it's the money train just keeps rolling.
It's a frustrating time to be alive, really it is, because we're $31 trillion in debt, yet everybody says America's a rich country. How is a rich country $31 trillion in debt? And then you've got a Republican majority in the House where spending is controlled, right? They control the purse strings. And what's going to happen, this is another prediction on my part, is Republicans are going to get into there with a very slim majority. And it's like, well, we can't really stop the spending all that much. We're back to, at light speed to the cliff and at the speed limit to the cliff. The destination is still the same because we've got 2024 coming up. And if we turn off all the spending, we won't win the White House. Yeah. And we'll probably lose the House again. So we got to keep spending. So they're going to keep spending on this Ukraine thing.
Yeah. And I mean, on Ukraine specifically, a lot of Republicans voted for all of the spending that we've had this far. I mean, including people that are supposed to be these, up and coming conservative heroes like Dan Crenshaw is a big one. I mean, I'm so disappointed in that guy because he's just shilling for Ukraine at this point. And we don't even know where the money's going. Like, nobody's asking these questions. Why all this money? Like, where is it going? Mm-hmm. How is this changing anything? It's clearly not working. The conflict is still going on. It's not solving the problem. Where is this money going? And now, we have this news story that came out that I want to just reference really quick. It's in a new installment of Kurt's Corner on DaleCartersAmerica.com.
We send Kurt to the corner for things that I don't understand or that I don't really care about. So if he cares about it more passionately than I do, it goes to Kurt's Corner.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, I'll let Jesse Waters explain here a little bit, but there is a new scandal that's coming out with this bunk cryptocurrency exchange that was funneling money through Ukraine back into Democrats' pockets. So
he's got great hair, though.
Well, yeah. You talking about Jesse Waters or the crypto guy?
The John Fetterman of cryptocurrency, SPF, was just at the White House, actually. He got 2 closed-doors meetings with Biden's senior advisor in the spring, right around the time Biden was shipping billions to Ukraine. The funny thing is, Ukraine was an investor in FTX. You may be asking, why is a country in the middle of a war investing in crypto? Shouldn't they be buying weapons or, if they have to invest in anything, doesn't crypto sound a little risky for Zelensky? You wouldn't want an investment with a solid rate of return and years of stable growth? No. Zelensky thought he'd give it to a guy living in a tax haven, fresh out of college with funny hair. Well, when Democrats are sending you billions of dollars of weaponry, the least you could do is reward their favorite mega donor. And what did FTX do with the money Ukraine invested? Well, they plowed it right back into the Democratic Party. Democrats send money to Ukraine, Ukraine sends money to FTX, and FTX sends money to the Democrats' campaigns. Now, I don't know if this is war profiteering or money laundering. I don't even know, but it needs to be investigated.
Yeah, this is huge. It's kind of in the weeds stuff, but it just shows that our elections are compromised. The entire system is corrupt. And, just if you go to the blog that I wrote on the website, you can see news articles from mainstream publications where right before this Russia-Ukraine thing started, they're all saying that Ukraine is the most corrupt country in Europe and, they have a Nazi problem and all these things that they're pointing to. And now all of a sudden a switch gets flipped and it's, Ukraine is the best thing since sliced bread and Zelensky is, getting Oscars from Sean Penn and everything else, and it's very shady. It's very, very shady.
I get that. Understand that it's shady, and when they start talking about hearings on Capitol Hill and all that, I just have a feeling, and we'll get to it when we get to the other segments here, that the electorate is just exhausted. The electorate's tired. The electorate's, paying more for groceries and gasoline, and they just don't care about any of this stuff. They just want to move on. So,
right, but they don't want you to care about it, because if you don't care about it, then you don't notice it, and then they can continue to corrupt our elections, and then your vote doesn't matter. So that's what they want. They want you to not pay attention to that. They want you focused on the mundane things, because then they can, essentially launder money through Ukraine and funnel it back into their campaign coffers, and nobody will say anything.
It's just exhausting. All right, let's move on. Joe Biden was over in the Far East. First of all, I could never be president. I really couldn't. I think I could based on the ideas and the principles and all that. But you go to these places and you have to eat their food and you have to drink their drink and you got to wear their stupid clothes. Did you see that ugly gray jacket that Biden was wearing?
No, I missed that. I can try and find it.
It looked like, it's their dress over there.
Right.
And, all the Chinese, they dress like they're all wearing pajamas and they're all the same color pajamas. And that's what it looked like. It looked like a pajama top. It just didn't look very it didn't look very becoming for poor Joe. And then, he's over there in China and he's fallen asleep and he didn't even make it to one of the parties. They said he had something he had to deal with. Yeah, he had to deal with a nap is what he had to deal with.
Right.
So if you found this thing,
it was past 6 p.m. He couldn't stay up, late.
Well, after Election Day, they put a lid on it like 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, God.
President's going to sleep here. He's going to go.
Yeah, I can't find it right now,
But trust me, it was really goofy looking, okay? But, and again, why are they even having these conferences? That's another question for later on in the podcast. But Biden says there is no imminent threat, that China will take military action in Taiwan. She is the president over there, and Biden says he talked tough with the Chinese leader.
I absolutely believe there need not be a new Cold War. I've met many times with Xi Jinping, and we were candid and clear with one another across the board.
I'm sure.
And I do not think there's any imminent attempt on the part of China to invade Taiwan. And I made it clear that our policy in Taiwan has not changed at all. It's the same exact position we've had. I made it clear that we want to see cross-strait issues peacefully resolved, and so it never has to come to that.
Can you imagine Biden like trying to talk tough to a world leader. Like,
Well, he handled corn pop back in the day.
Yeah,
but he was a
yeah.
lifeguard back then, and he had the responsibility of some kids and all that. When he talked tough and all that, I saw the clips from what they actually talked about. He led with global warming. That's his big thing, climate change, yada yada yada.
Right.
They didn't mention COVID, the origins of COVID. They didn't mention the slave labor that they have in China that's, making Nike shoes. I mean, if you buy a pair, I'm wearing Nike shoes right now, as a matter of fact, probably made by slave labor in China.
I had to check that I wasn't. I'm not.
I should take these off and burn them, I guess. He didn't mention anything about that, but certainly climate change was big on the agenda. So we'll get to more of that coming up as well. To Elon Musk. You like Elon Musk, don't you?
Yeah, he's all right. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't like, look to him as some political genius or anything like that, but he's certainly entertaining.
He's shaking things up over at Twitter.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. He has ended the whole work from home thing. I guess a bunch of their employees were like working from home. And he said, look, I just paid a lot of money for this thing and it's got to make some money. So we're ending work from home.
Yeah, he sent out his first company-wide email, and this is kind of the end of it, but the road ahead is arduous and will require intense work to succeed. We are also changing Twitter policy such that remote work is no longer allowed unless you have a specific exception. Managers will send the exceptions list to me for review and approval. So,
Wouldn't you love to see that list?
Yeah.
Here's my exception.
right.
Denied.
Right. And so, the libs were freaking out on Twitter over that, saying, he's unfairly treating his workers and everything like that. And then the other thing that happened that was really funny was he is cracking down on the free lunches, apparently. There was a video, I'll just finish this. So apparently he found that they were spending $400 on per lunch per employee. So that's just ridiculous. But there was a video that came out a couple weeks ago or something, and it was like posted to Twitter by a Twitter employee, and she was like, the average day of like my life as a Twitter employee, and she like goes and she gets a coffee and she like maybe has a meeting for 15 minutes and then she plays foosball and then she like goes to lunch with her friends and then she relaxes in the sauna in the Twitter headquarters.
It's like your job around here.
Well, hey, I don't know about that. We don't have a sauna, all right?
Not yet.
We need a sauna.
There was one back when it was a Gold's Gym.
Well, yeah, that's true. Maybe we can dig it back up. But yeah, no, it's so he's obviously going to make people actually work again,
and he's firing a bunch of people.
Yeah, and
too.
he's been firing a bunch of people. Yeah,
and so the liberal take on this was he's firing a bunch of people at Twitter, and the ones who are staying, he's going to starve. It's like, really? Come on.
Yeah.
All right, to the student loan transfer, what's going on with that? Because it's not student loan forgiveness. Let's make that clear. It's transfer from people who took out loans and transferring it to taxpayers who may not have taken out loans.
Yeah. We have an update from a judge in Texas. And I'll just read a little bit from this article from the AP. A U.S. judge in Texas on Thursday blocked President Joe Biden's plan to provide millions of borrowers with up to $20,000 apiece in federal student loan forgiveness, a program that was already on hold as federal appeals court in St. Louis considers a separate lawsuit by 6 states challenging it. District Court Judge Mark Pittman, an appointee of former President Donald Trump based in Fort Worth, said the program usurped Congress's power to make laws. In this country, we are not ruled by an all-powerful executive with a pen and a phone. Instead, we are ruled by a constitution that provides for 3 distinct and independent branches of government, Pittman wrote. So it's on hold from a judge.
Democrats win again, though. They got exactly what they needed out of it for the midterm election.
Yeah.
And the mean old Republicans are keeping you from getting your $10,000 that Joe Biden wants to give you.
Right, exactly. Yeah, they still control the narrative and they still control, the conversation around this whole thing. So.
They do make mistakes. And when they do make mistakes, we do catch them and we do need to exploit them. And Congressman Eric Swalwell's stupid comment really should be a marching cry for Republicans moving forward. It's certainly how Glenn Youngkin, I think, in part won the state of Virginia as a governor, because one thing that we conservatives care a whole lot about is our kids. And when you screw with that relationship with our kids, you're walking on real thin ice.
Yeah, I mean, everyone cares about their kids, but so Tim Scott came out and said, we are putting parents back in charge of their kids' education, which is like something that I think pretty much anyone can agree with. And then Swalwell retweeted it, and he said, "Please tell me what I'm missing here. What are we doing next? Putting patients in charge of their own surgeries? Clients in charge of their own trials? When did we stop trusting experts? This is so stupid."
Well, I mean, do you trust the experts at the school there to set the agenda, to have, to have sexual discussions with your kids when they're in grade school?
Yeah, I mean, every sentence of this is just stupid. Like, first of all, yes, like all of those questions that he asked, yes. Are putting patients in charge of their own healthcare? Yes, we do that. Like, you have to agree to get a surgery done on you. Like, they don't just decide, oh, this is what we're doing. You don't have a choice in it. Yeah, they say, this is what we recommend. We think you should get this surgery. You have to agree to do it. I mean, that's always how it's been. Of course, that's the case. Clients in charge of their own trials? Yeah, you pick a lawyer. You hire a lawyer, you decide what you want to plead, you decide, if you yeah, of course.
Well, I guarantee you when I was in grade school, certainly probably for you as well, Kurt, our parents decided where we went to school, right? And I don't know if your parents were involved in your education. Mine certainly were. They looked at homework. They held my feet to the fire on things. They asked questions. They were involved. Mm-hmm. Where we've gotten off track in this country is parents are just kind of like turning it over to the school. Right. And then they're shocked when, they come home with stuff. I think COVID opened a lot of eyes because all of a sudden those kids were at home and they were, Zoom calling for classes. And, maybe a parent walks by and says, "What?
Yeah.
The hell is that?"
Yeah. What is oral sex have to do with math?
Yeah, exactly. Why are we having drag queens come in and do shows at the grade school? That just seems kind of wrong, right?
Yeah.
I think if you use a little common sense on stuff, you'll come out on the right side. And so when a Democrat like Eric Swalwell says something stupid like this, Republicans need to find a way to exploit it.
Yeah, and it's like I said, at the beginning of this, it's just a winning message, I think, across the board because of course, parents want to be in charge of their kids' education, and their kids' upbringing generally. And Republicans need to hammer that home. They need to hammer home, we're the party of putting you in control of your kids' education. We want charter schools. We want private schools. We want school choice. We want homeschool options if that's what you want to do. And Democrats are the party of taking your child's education out of your hands, putting it into the bureaucracy and putting it into people's hands that you don't know and don't trust, and they need to hammer that home.
And if you got kids and you don't know who's on your school board and you don't know where they stand on stuff, you are failing.
Yeah.
And those elections are very important. I would say those elections and city council elections are maybe more important to you and your life than the presidential election. Yet you'll wait an hour and a half in line to vote in the presidential and nobody shows up for a school board race.
So true.
Yeah.
So true.
Get your head back in the game, people. As we move on to Jeff Bezos, the guy with $124 billion, even after his divorce. That is not fair. Think about that. That is not fair. And look at that. He's got like this hot new girlfriend. He's still got $124 billion. He's like, what the hell am I going to do with $124 billion?
Well, what's really not fair is the fact that his ex-wife now also has $124 billion.
How does that happen? This is not fair. They need to pay their fair share.
It's funny. You can call me a sexist or whatever, but if you look at like the list of all of the richest women in the world, it's all women who have divorced rich men, and like Oprah.
Yeah, I was going to say Oprah's over there on her own island.
But it's really funny.
But she's hot.
Oprah?
No. I'm looking at the other screen over here. Jeff Bezos' new squeeze.
Yeah, I don't know. She's a little done up. She's had some work. That's not really my thing, but okay. So what are we talking about? He's a
short, bald guy. I mean, I know he's got a lot of money.
Yeah, he's kind of ripped though. He uses his time and his money. He's always doing training and stuff, and he's at the gym. He's getting pretty ripped.
Maybe that microphone's not the only large thing that's close to his waist. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's move right along because he's giving away his money, and he gave it away to somebody I really like.
Get up onto the stage, Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton! Look at Dolly, man. She's looking good.
Did you say $100 million? When people are in a position to help, you should help. And I know that I've always said I try to put my money where my heart is. And I think you do the same thing. I will do my best to do good things with this money. Thank you, Jeff.
So you really think his girlfriend isn't all that?
No.
Well, you're young. I mean, you're a newlywed. You just married a hot woman yourself. And
Yeah, I mean, I don't like plastic surgery. It's just.
Well, and you don't like Dolly because parts
Yeah.
of Dolly are a certain age and parts of her
Yeah.
are a different age.
I'll tell you though, I mean, back in the day, like the early Dolly years, some of her early records and like her stuff with Porter Wagner and everything. Yeah, she's beautiful.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so Bezos is going to give away all his money. He's doing it in big chunks. Dolly's got $100 million. Dolly, if you want to buy a country music station, I know where you could get one at a reasonable price. And by God, we'll play a Dolly
Or a
Parton
podcast.
record.
You could buy a podcast.
You could buy the
too.
podcast. We'll even play Dolly songs on the podcast.
Yeah, we'll make it the intro to
because
the
you're a big
podcast.
fan. You like the Porter Wagner stuff.
Yeah,
I didn't. Even
like early Dolly. Yeah.
thought you were too young to even know who Porter Wagner was.
Oh, come on.
All
Give me a
right,
break.
so we move along. The Royals want a new $2 billion stadium downtown. Maybe Bezos could buy that too.
Yeah,
do you
maybe
think?
he will.
So here's my question. Do we have a clip on this?
No.
Okay, all right, then we'll move right along. I have a couple of questions on this. Way back when, Kurt, before you were born, the Royals in 1969 played at Municipal Stadium, which was at 19th and Brooklyn, in spitting distance of downtown. They moved out to the Truman Sports Complex because at that time the Chiefs and the Royals played in the same stadium. It was one of the first examples of separate stadiums for an NFL team and a Major League Baseball team, the Truman Sports Complex. It was revolutionary when it opened in 1972. So why would they want to go back to where they moved away from? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and it's just a giant waste of money. I mean, what's wrong with the current stadium?
Well, they just put like $250 million into it to upgrade it, refurbish it,
like
and all that.
5 years ago or something, right?
Yeah. And you talk about an entertainment district, there is so much open space around the Truman Sports Complex. If there were demand for it, it would happen.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Again,
I mean, that
private
happened in
sector.
Philadelphia. You know, I'm from Philly, and they have a very similar thing where it's like a sports complex. It's in South Philly. Probably about a 10 or 15 minute drive south of downtown. And they have it where it's the hockey stadium where the Flyers and the Sixers play, and the baseball stadium where the Phillies play, and the football stadium where the Eagles play, all right next to each other with big parking around it. And there was it drew a lot of business into that area. And they've built this thing called Xfinity Live, which is kind of like their version of the Power and Light District. And they've built a lot of stuff down there because that area with the sports complex has driven business into that area. So if the demand was there, you're right, it would bring something in.
Well, you know, not to open up an old wound here, but the Power and Light District was taxpayer supported. And if the taxes weren't going in to support the Power and Light District, that thing would have failed.
Right.
So, I mean, here we go again. We're going to do the same thing. And then, you know, you talk about going back to the taxpayers of Jackson County, where I live. Do you live in Jackson County?
Yes.
Okay. You don't own a home yet.
No.
If you did, you would see that your property taxes over the last 3 years have just skyrocketed, absolutely skyrocketed. So the idea that they are going to approach the taxpayers of Jackson County with any kind of a tax to support a $2 billion downtown stadium, I just don't see it.
Yeah. Well, in the letter that he sent out, this is the chairman and CEO of the Royals. He said, first, we would not ask Jackson County citizens to contribute any more tax dollars than you already do today, which, I mean, it seems like just a lie. I mean, how are you going to afford a $2 billion
Well, I'll tell you how they're
stadium?
going to do it. You know, I've been involved in these before in politics. It's going to be a no tax increase bond renewal.
Yeah.
Okay? Because the Jackson County taxpayers paid to put $500 million into Arrowhead and Kauffman Stadium. Okay?
Right.
There was a second vote. Would we want a rolling roof on railroad tracks between the stadiums? If we had passed that, we would have gotten a Super Bowl in Kansas City. Right? The voters said, nope, that's a bridge too far. You can't have your railroad tracks. You can't have the rolling roof, but we're going to spend $500 million on Arrowhead and Kauffman Stadium. So they're going to come back to the voters and say, hey, your taxes won't go up, but we're going to extend the bond.
Right. Which is just taxes in the future.
I'm going to vote no. You can do whatever you want to do,
Yeah,
but
of course.
I'm going to be a no
course.
on that. There's no way. They can't polish the dog turd enough. And, you know, you've got a lousy product on the field.
Well,
right?
yeah, that's what I was going to say. You know, maybe it has more to do with the fact that the Royals suck and that they haven't won, you know, in 7 years. They have not been doing well. Maybe
Right.
that's why people aren't going, not because, the stadium is not where it should be. It's just a waste. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with the stadium. There's nothing wrong with how it is now. I just don't understand. Like, the city is already going bankrupt. We're already spending money, too much money, on the streetcar and on the airport and everything else. And it's just another project. We have bigger fish to fry. We have bigger things to worry about. We have crime problems. We have homelessness problems. We have drug problems, real problems that need to be addressed that matter way more than a stupid stadium.
Amen. Yet the Democrats continue to control Jackson County. And while we have all these problems with the county, Kurt, we've got the best second baseman running a county anywhere in America.
I bet he'll be for it. He'll be for the new stadium.
I'm sure
he's probably going to have a plaque or a statue outside of it or something. So
he's already got a statue outside Kauffman Stadium because he was a great second baseman.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you who else is for it is the Pharaoh.
Yeah,
I mean, he's going to be all in on this deal.
100%.
All right, so that's where we stand on that, and that's kind of your news headlines here on Dale Carter's Americas. We dive in a little bit deeper now to the midterm aftermath. Now, you remember before the midterm, you had Barack Obama out there preaching fire and brimstone. This is the death of democracy. If it doesn't go our way, this is the death of democracy.
Right.
Democracy is going to die.
Right.
It was kind of interesting. The day after, Joe Biden, who was also preaching the same thing, he goes out there and says, wow, this turned out all right.
Yeah, I got the clip.
It was a good day, I think, for democracy. And I think it was a good day for America. Excuse me, I have a little hoarse. Our democracy.
I just have to pause it there because the closed captions don't do it justice. He says, "Excuse me, I have a little horse." That's what he just said. I'm
Good
gonna play
day,
it
I
again.
think, for democracy.
Yeah.
And I think it was a good day for America. Excuse me, I have a little hoarse. Our democracy has been tested in recent years, but with their votes, the American people have spoken and proven once again that democracy is who we are.
I mean, is it not just totally obvious to everyone that when he says democracy, he means the Democrat Party? Like, it's so obvious. It's so transparent.
Yeah.
When they do well, or when they at least don't do as bad as they're expecting, oh, it's a win for democracy. Like, come on, man. Like, at least try. At least try to, like, hide the ball a little bit.
And
Jeez.
if the red wave had happened like we thought was going to happen, and let's be honest here, we're a little disappointed, and we're going to have to do some soul searching, and we'll do that later on in this episode of the podcast. It would have been the death of democracy. But because, the red wave didn't happen, they lost some seats in the House of Representatives, so that's going to flip, but they're going to keep the Senate, so it was a good day for democracy. And it's always instilling confidence, I think, in America and Americans when our leader goes out there to host a press conference and he says this. Play that clip.
Now, I've been given a list of 10 people that I'm supposed to call on, and you're all supposed to ask me one question, but I'm sure you'll ask me more. And so let me start off with a list I've been given.
He says it again.
Zeke Miller, Associated Press.
Okay, so even if that's true, okay, let's say in the background it's like, Joe, we're giving you this list, and these are the only people you can call on. These are the friendlies, okay?
Right.
Fox is not going to be on there. These are the friendlies who are going to ask you friendly questions. Don't say it,
Right.
right? Just go out there and randomize it. Say, okay, who am I going to call on? Look down and go, okay, the guy from Associated Press. What do you got, bud? What do you got, Jack?
Yeah, and this is obviously not the first time he's done that either.
He does it all the time. Don't say it.
He says it all the time, like, where am I supposed to go? Oh, I don't know. Like, I don't know what they're telling me to do next. He's just obviously a puppet. He's obviously a mouthpiece.
End of quote.
Yeah.
End of quote. Next sentence. Yeah. Say it again. Repeat it again. I mean, what's going to happen? Okay, and a little warning here, a little F-bombs coming, okay? Before his administration is over, somebody on his staff is going to pull a Ron Burgundy on him.
Right.
That's going to happen.
Yeah.
He's going to be in the Roosevelt room. He's going to be squinting, reading the teleprompter, and lastly, go fuck yourself, America. It's
End of quote.
It's going to happen. Close quote. Yeah. Close quote. I just no confidence in that. And then he continues to lie, and these people that he calls on will not call him on it. What in the hell is this thing that he keeps saying about traveling 17,000 miles with Chinese leader Xi?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
My God, you could go to the moon.
That's pretty far. That's a long way to walk. I have the old clip, but I don't have the new clip. We can move on.
All right. Well, fire up the old clip. I want to hear in what context he even says this. I mean, 17,000 miles. He just rattles it off, and nobody ever questions him on it.
Yeah, this is an old clip from
Word.
April.
I was going to put him. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him. The foothills of the Himalayas with Xi Jinping, traveling with him. I actually traveled 17,000 miles when I was vice president. I don't know that for a fact.
Well, at least he said there, I don't know it for a fact. And now he just says it again at the press conference.
And then I think that I remember that clip too, but for specifically because he goes, I can describe America in a single word.
What word would that be again?
Oh, no.
I have no idea.
I mean, the guy's great for content. Can we at least give him that?
Trump was good for content, too.
Hilarious.
So we'll have content again. Okay, so the bottom line question out of this, because remember my prediction, and I'll admit when my predictions are wrong, I really saw a red wave coming. I'm like, you cannot have inflation be this high, have the border this insecure, the debacle that happened in Afghanistan, everything going wrong, going from energy independence to energy dependence while you're touting off something that there's no logical way that you're going to be able to pull it off. So I saw a red wave coming. And after that red wave, the Democrats would be soul searching and he would not be allowed to run for a second term. Mm-hmm. But now what the hell? I mean, why wouldn't he run?
Yeah. And I'm seeing more and more people out there, on Facebook and Twitter, and heck, even our mayor, as you mentioned earlier, put out a tweet the other day saying Joe's doing a great job or something like that. And it's like,
Joe just keeps winning.
Yeah, Joe just keeps winning. Yeah, and I go through and I look at the comments, and everyone in the comments is like, "Yeah, he's doing great. Yeah, go Biden." And it's like, my thought is just like, who are these people? Like you just want to like see them, like talk to them. Like, are you delusional? Like, who are you?
Well, you know what Lucas is up to. I mean, he's sucking up big time. He wants to be on the cabinet.
Yeah, he's going to DC every opportunity that he gets, and he's kissing babies and handshaking the big wig people in DC.
Well, it's not over for the red team. It's not. But before we get to the fixes for the red team, let's go with the guy who wears red when he's taking care of you, ensuring you, taking care of you. See what I did there?
That's a good
that was deft, I think is the correct word for that. Blue Springs local State Farm agent for 5 decades, Bob Watson, who, by the way, sent me a text after last week's episode, and he said, "Man, you were on fire. What was your blood pressure?" He was a little worried about my blood pressure. It's okay, Bob. Everything's fine. I'm more chill, more mellow. We haven't gotten to the Trump segment yet. I'm not sure where we're going to end up here, Kurt. But I think I'm coming from a place of logic and sanity and calmness. So we'll get to that coming up.
Well, the real problem is that now I know how to push your buttons, so you're going to have to really rein it in.
All right.
We're going to have problems.
Blue Springs State Farm agent for 5 decades, Bob Watson. You can find his office conveniently in downtown Blue Springs at 7th and Main. It's a beautiful office, but he doesn't need the office, right? He can take care of you on the Kansas side and the Missouri side as well with a phone and a computer and all that good stuff, and he's got a tremendous support staff and surprisingly great rates right now for State Farm. So as we come up to the end of the year and you need to take a look at your insurance and all that, make sure you get a quote from Bob Watson, 816-229-7878. And once you've got Bob on your side and something goes wrong, and let's face it, in life, something always goes wrong. You need somebody on your side, in your corner, and that will be Bob and his entire staff at his agency there in Blue Springs. Auto, home, life, commercial insurance, even boats when we get back to that again, 816-229-7878. We thank Bob Watson for believing in what we're doing here. Now, the conservatives and the Republicans moving forward. Okay. Trump's in the race. Now, last week, we had a big disagreement about that, and I still feel the same. How do you feel?
I feel the same. I mean, I think my thing is not necessarily that, like, I'm 100% Team Trump, or like if the primary was held today, I would definitely vote for Trump. Maybe I would. I really don't know, but I just think it's too early to say for sure, and I don't like the disloyalty and disrespect that people are showing him by just throwing him off the bus immediately. I mean, like I said last week, there would be no Ron DeSantis without Donald Trump. There would be no populist movement in the Republican Party without Donald Trump. So I think we need to not take that for granted.
Okay.
And that was my main point last week in pushing back on you, was just to say that, there is a reason that this guy is running. There's a reason that he is so popular, and that shouldn't be ignored.
Okay, where I question and push back here a little bit is whether he's popular or not now. And let's get into some logic here, okay? It takes 270 electoral votes to win the presidency. Mm-hmm. The Republicans haven't won the popular vote in how long? I mean, Trump didn't win the popular vote.
Probably since Reagan, I would imagine.
George W. Bush didn't win the popular vote. I mean, so we have to win constitutionally, and we've got to do it through the Electoral College. Donald Trump in statewide races, let's don't look at congressional races. Let's look at full-on statewide races. Mm-hmm. He backed candidates in Arizona, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. Lost all of them. Those are swing states. You got to win 2 out of 3 of those.
Right, but I mean, that is true. But he also backed he backed like over 200 candidates.
You're getting to House races that are very small and on very small issues. I mean, he may have backed Mark Alford, but I don't think it had a dime's worth of difference in the race. Statewide races with governors and senators, that's where you get to flipping a state, blue or red, in the presidential here.
Right.
So Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania. DeSantis just won Florida as governor by 20 points. Trump won it by 2 points over Biden.
But can you, back to the original thing, can you say for sure that his endorsement is the reason that those people lost?
Absolutely.
What evidence do you have for
Absolutely. That? When you start looking at the celebrity types that he backed, like Dr. Oz, the election denier in Arizona, okay, he backed these people. He put his name out there.
And you're talking about Carrie Lake?
Yeah, they lost.
I thought you liked her.
I like her. I'm saying she lost. This isn't about me, and this isn't about you.
But you're using the term election denier, which is a leftist smear. You shouldn't use that.
Okay, I probably shouldn't use that. But did she go out there and say that Trump didn't win or Trump didn't lose?
I mean, maybe, but that's not what her campaign was about.
Okay, let's don't get sidetracked here, because if we get sidetracked, F-bombs are going to start flying again. Okay, let's get back to logic. How does Trump get to 270 electoral votes?
By winning enough states to get 270 electoral votes.
And the toss-up states of Arizona, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. Do you think he wins those?
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. Again, it's all speculation at this point. I mean, it's so far out. And DeSantis has never ran for national election. So, I mean, it's speculation. You can speculate. Go ahead, speculate all you want, but that's all that it is. It's speculation.
The happiest guy with that announcement last night, other than Donald Trump himself, who did this for himself. If he were doing the right thing for America, he would say, you know what? I had my time. My time has come and gone. We need to rally around X person. Or maybe he should have just kept his damn mouth shut, because we still don't know about the House. We still don't know about Herschel Walker. There's another one, by the way. Herschel Walker, Donald Trump's running back, is probably the worst candidate who could have run for the Senate in Georgia, and that was definitely on Donald Trump. Everybody else on the Republican side, including the governor, ran way ahead of Herschel Walker. There is no reason that Warnock should have won that race. And he did win it, by the way. He just didn't get to 50%. So again, you have to ask the math question, how does Herschel Walker get to 50% when he didn't get there on election night?
In the runoff, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I agree. I think that's going to be a tough runoff.
And that's on
Walker.
Donald Trump, and I have evidence on that. That is definitely on Donald Trump.
In what way?
Well, Herschel Walker's his guy. How is it not on Donald Trump?
Right, but that's not evidence that the reason that he lost is because of the Trump endorsement. Okay. I mean, and we talked about this last week, but just again, the reason that Oz lost in Pennsylvania is because he's a shitty candidate, and because he's not a true conservative, and because people weren't motivated to go vote for him. Okay. I could see the argument being made, which I think is true, that the reason that he won the primary for the Republican Party was because of, or at least largely due to the Trump endorsement, which was a mistake for sure. But just to say that he lost because of Trump, I mean, that I don't really see where that's coming from.
Well, the happiest guy who, after Trump's announcement last night, was Joe Biden, because it kept him in the game. There is no way that Joe Biden gets to 270 without Donald Trump being in this thing. And then I want to go to another point, Operation Chaos. Do you remember when Rush Limbaugh started Operation Chaos in 2008? Okay. In 2008, you had Hillary and Barack running for the Democrat nomination, and Barack was running away with it. And Rush thought it'd be a great idea to extract more pain out of the Democrats and make the thing run a lot longer, and he started endorsing Hillary Clinton. And she started winning some late primaries. And there was a thought out there that it was because it was Republicans crossing over to vote for Hillary to make it tougher on Barack Obama. Well, the Democrats have taken that page out of the playbook in spades. And they went out and they supported a bunch of these Donald Trump-backed candidates, and they lost in statewide elections. Now, again, you could probably get into the weeds and pull out the 35th district in California. I'm talking about statewide races in Arizona, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. Okay? They got involved, Democrats did, and crossed over to get an easier candidate to beat, and they beat
in the
those
primary.
candidates.
You mean they voted in the primary?
Right.
Yeah.
And they beat those candidates in the general election. So here we go again. And
Right, but how is that Trump's fault? I don't understand.
okay,
that.
well, let me get to where I'm going here. Can you not see a scenario in the 2024 primaries where you've got 16 Republicans running, that a bunch of Democrats go out, cross over in the primary, and vote for Donald Trump?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
So Donald Trump wins enough primaries to claim the nomination, and then what happens on Election Day? Let's think 3 jumps ahead here.
I don't know. I don't know what happens on Election Day. I mean, Biden is a terrible president. Trump is very charismatic. Anything could happen.
This country, Kurt, is over Donald Trump. There's a segment now, and I ran this on the podcast Facebook page. I just threw it out there. Orange Man says he's in. What do you think? Go look at those responses. I didn't tip the scale any way. The responses are, and these are our people. These are deep red Republicans, Kurt, okay? And they're split. Where do you think the middle is? The middle is not going to vote for Donald Trump, and Democrats aren't going to vote for Donald Trump. So if the true red Republicans...
Are Democrats going to vote for Ron DeSantis or somebody else?
No, they're not.
They're just going to do
You're
the same
missing
thing
the point.
to him.
You're missing the point. If the Republicans come out unified with somebody who focuses on the things that people care about, it'll carry the day. If we go back through this again, it's going to be January 6th, it's going to be indictments, it's going to be investigations, it's going to be all this crap that nobody cares about. Do you not see that?
No, I see it, but the problem is that those narratives were created out of whole cloth by the media.
Who cares? We've got to move forward.
I know, but the problem is that you're playing into the narrative because they're just, if it's Ron DeSantis, they're just going to do that to Ron DeSantis. They'll find something on him from his time as governor in California. They'll find some tape of him saying a bad word, and they'll just do the same thing to him.
Well, he was never governor of California.
If he gets, I'm sorry, Florida. If he gets elected, or if he wins the primary and he's the nominee, they'll dig up stuff on him. They'll try and impeach him.
That's stuff you don't know, okay? That's all unknown stuff. We've got a baggage train of Donald Trump stuff. So that is a given, and that is known.
Right, but the reason that exists is because Trump has been president and DeSantis hasn't.
All right, I submit, okay? I'll give in on that point. Yeah, they did it, so what? You know, Donald Trump's done a lot of it to himself. He is his own worst enemy.
In some ways, yeah, I think so. I think you're right about that. Yeah.
Okay, good. On that moment of agreement, let's go to this. Democrats are clearly better salespeople.
Yeah.
They have definitely sold this thing. And, you know, back to the student loan thing. They knew it was illegal when they did it. They didn't care, right? They're out there pandering for votes. And they got votes. I mean, think about the Gen Z people. That's the future of this country, right? Demographically, you have to agree with that, right? Mm-hmm. What do they care about? They told you in exit polls. They like the fact that he was going to, you know, wipe out student loan debt, even though most of them don't have it.
Right.
They like it. They like the free stuff.
Right.
They want the free stuff. They want to have an ability to get an abortion. You don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. That's what they want, and they're the voters.
So then what do we do? Do we say, okay, you can have your abortions? Is that what we're going to do to win an election?
I think that there's solid middle ground here. I really do. I think that all the countries of the world who are, industrialized like we are, they've kind of had this discussion. And nationally, I think they've centered somewhere around 15 weeks. And I think that's where we're going to be. You're not going to like it. I'm not going to like it. It doesn't matter. We're a democracy. People vote.
But you're saying, like a federal law that states that 15 weeks, a ban after 15 weeks in federal law.
It may well come to that.
Because that is currently, in terms of the political discussion, that is viewed as a very far right policy. That is viewed as extreme by the mainstream. Just overturning Roe v. Wade and returning the issue back to the states was viewed as extreme. Imagine how it's going to be viewed if there's a federal ban after 15 weeks.
I'm just telling you where we're going.
That's a
with this
right-wing
thing.
policy. That's not like a centrist.
Telling you where we're going with this thing. There's going to have to be middle ground, and people are going to have to give in on it.
But here's the thing: do you think the Democrats are going to view that as middle ground? Do you think that they're going to come out and be like, we can reach a compromise?
We're never going to sit around a fire and smoke the peace pipe and sing kumbaya to each other.
Right.
We are going to debate things. I'm just telling you where this thing ends up demographically because of the people who are voting, and the Democrats got those people to vote. They were definitely energized. They definitely went out and voted. Roe versus Wade, I'm glad it got overturned. I wanted it to go back to the states. I think that's where it belongs constitutionally. But, realistically, where is it going to go? And again, we get back to Democrats are better salespeople. And they're out there, they're Uncle Joe, right? Uncle Joe is definitely a real thing. And he's pushing candy, and you don't need to do that. You don't need to worry about that. And we can run up the bill as much as you want to. And Republicans, we're the guys that are saying, hey, we're $31 trillion in debt. The private sector works every time it's tried. So we're the ones pushing vegetables. You got to eat your vegetables. And we're losing on the younger end.
Yeah, I was talking to a couple friends about this last night, actually, that just inherently the progressive argument is more exciting than the conservative argument, because there's nothing exciting or motivating about saying, we should conserve what already exists. We should go back to how we did things previously, as opposed to, we need to shake up the system. We need forward progress. We need, to give people free stuff and all these things. It's just inherently a better and easier argument to sell. And so Republicans have to figure out how to work around that. It's not easy.
Younger Republicans, they're serving now, they get that. And I want to go to the Josh Hawley clip because Josh has said this several times, and he is right on the money.
I think that this election was the funeral for the Republican Party as we know it. The Republican Party, as we have known it, is dead. And voters have made that clear. And in particular, the folks who did not vote for Republicans in this last election were independent voters, working class independent voters, folks who voted for President Obama once upon a time, folks who then voted for President Trump but stayed home this time. We are not a majority party unless we can appeal to those voters.
I don't know how you can say it any better than that, but what I would leave you with in terms of a question is, how do we sell doing less when a lot of people love getting more?
I think we have to present a real alternative. We for too long the Republican strategy has been, we're not Democrats. Whether it be they call us a racist and we say no, we're not, or they promote some new policy like student loan forgiveness, and Republicans' answer to that is we shouldn't do that because X, Y, Z. That's not a platform. That's reactionary. It's purely just responding to what the Democrats are doing. It's not going to motivate anybody. It's not going to bring anybody to our side. We need to have a real proactive message that is hopeful and has an actual plan for the future of America. We need to be promoting the family. We need to be promoting traditional values. We need to be promoting what is good and doing it in a way that is exciting to people, and we're just not doing that.
Well, more vegetables that you're going to have to eat because of all the inflation that we've had. The Fed's response to that, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, is they've got to ratchet up interest rates to cool off demand, and that's going to bring prices back down. Okay, by doing that, the interest that we pay on the federal deficit is going to balloon. Okay, there's only so much that comes in terms of taxes, right? Mm-hmm. And part of that budget is paying interest on the debt. Well, the debt right now is $31 trillion with a T. Now, when you think about this, when you're buying a home, okay, like the last refi I did on my house, I got a great rate. I got 2.6% on a 15-year loan, right? Where is it today? 6 or 7?
Yeah.
And what does that do to a house payment? Now, think about it in terms of the federal government. Back when the prime rate was like at 0, borrow, borrow, borrow. It doesn't really matter, okay? Now that rate is moving up, and I think they're looking at like 5-6%, they think is where they're going to have to get to start to curb inflation. What do those interest payments look like? That's got to come out of the federal budget. So, you're going to have to eat a lot of vegetables to make up for all that candy you got.
Yeah, that's certainly true.
And when Republicans say that, the young people are like, well, screw that. I want all the free stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there's a way to do it without just saying you have to eat your vegetables, I mean,
I don't think that's a winning message, by the way.
Like for example, I mean, just to continue on that analogy, the proper way to do it would not be you have to eat your vegetables. The proper way to do it would be, well, we want to promote a healthy lifestyle. You should eat right, you should work out, and look at these people. They eat candy all day, they're fat and disgusting, and they're lost, So like, yeah, eat your vegetables because it's good for you. And we're going to promote, a healthy lifestyle. That's the way to do it.
By the way, to backtrack here a little bit, you asked for some evidence. The Political Morning Consult poll asked if Donald Trump should run for president again. 53% of registered voters said no, and 12% said probably he should not run. So if I put 12 with 53, that gets me to 65 no.
Well, that's all voters, though, right?
Registered voters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how many? Of course, the majority of, I think probably 99% of Democrats don't want him to run.
Mark my word.
And here's the thing, like, if it's this is what I don't understand, right? If it's so clear that he has lost the Republican Party, then there's no problem. Then he'll run in the primary and he'll lose to DeSantis or somebody else. Well, so let the process play out. If that's how it is, if he's not popular, if people don't want him anymore, then he's not going to win the primary. And there's nothing to worry about.
If we had closed primaries in this country, I'd agree with you. We don't have closed primaries in this country.
Okay.
Democrats cross over, he wins the nomination, and he loses in the general. Donald Trump is not going to be the next president of the United States. You can mark my word on that. It's just not going to happen.
At 11:03 a.m. on 11/16/22. Writing it down right now. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll say it right now. And I don't think he should even run. I think he should pass the torch. It should be a younger generation on both sides. My God, let's get rid of Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden and the Clintons and Chuck Grassley in Iowa, who just turned 90 and won his 8th term in the Senate. Mm-hmm. Mitch McConnell. Let's get rid of all these dinosaurs and start over with young people who are talking about the things that really matter. That's my scenario, my dream scenario here. But, they're still going to talk about climate change and all that good stuff. And I think we'll leave you with that because, in a way, this is where I can pull in Austin Watterson and give you something logical, something you can do that actually makes a difference at your house. And that is this whole solar thing. And it's not like this electric car dream that Joe Biden has, which is not based in any logic whatsoever. Think about that for just a second on the electric car thing, because there's no infrastructure set up for it, yet he says we're all going to be driving electric cars, okay? Then you get into the batteries and all the other crap that goes into it, and just the fact that there's no charging stations and how long does it take to charge, how much does it cost to charge. They don't want to talk about any of that. It's just like, go buy an electric car. You're saving the planet. Go buy an electric car. You're saving the planet. Well, if you get solar on your house, you're using that big yellow orb in the sky to power your house, to heat your house, to cool your house. And you can basically own your own utilities rather than leasing them from somebody like Evergy. And the guy who really has his head around this and understands it and can speak to you in logical terms that make sense is Austin Watterson at Royal Roofing and Solar. You can reach him at 816-540-7057. Based in Pleasant Hill, Missouri, Cass County, good friends and neighbors, not some fly-by-night thing that's going to come in and sell you a bunch of crap and then you'll never hear from them again. They are local folks who will take care of you. In fact, Austin will even tell you if your house isn't a candidate for solar based on where it is, how it's built, and what's around it. Mm-hmm. Nobody else will do that. They'll say solar works everywhere. Austin told me it doesn't work everywhere. But if you need a new roof, they're the guys who will get it done. They did it at my house, and they can do it for you as well. So Royal Roofing and Solar, glad to have them along. Why did we wait until the very end to talk about Royal Roofing and Solar? It's because, did you watch The Office?
Oh, yeah. I didn't watch some of the later seasons, but like the first 4 or 5 I did.
I never got into it. I think I saw them. It was a movie, right? And then a TV show?
No.
They're not the same thing?
No, it was a British TV show with Ricky Gervais.
I may be thinking about Office Space.
Office Space, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We just, me and the wife just watched that the other day. Great movie.
Yeah. So Rainn Wilson, if you know who Rainn Wilson is, he's one of the actors from The Office. And because he cares so much about this planet and the environment, he's changing his name.
Hi there, I'm Rainn Wilson, or should I say rain, fall, heat wave, rising sea levels, and we have to do something about it now, Wilson.
We have to do something about it now. It's like he's channeling Joe Biden. You got to pay your fair share.
Yeah.
Now
that's really going to change everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Him changing his name is going to make a huge difference. And I'm so proud of him.
There was some pushback because we make fun of Democrats all the time when they do stuff like fly to these conferences or whatever. It's like, well, how are they supposed to get there? We'll fly on a Cessna? Well, no. They just had a big climate conference in Egypt where world leaders, including ours and their entourages, flew and then motorcaded to tell us that fossil fuels are killing the planet.
There was another thing recently, too, where Al Gore is pushing this new program that will like track how much energy people use and can track the highest energy users. And
boy, that seems great.
I think you saw this comment that I made on the NPR post, and I was like, how about a mirror, bud? The guy uses literally like 40 times as much energy as the normal person.
So I'm going to give you something that will be revolutionary, will change the world, and we can take this off the plate and we can stop making fun of it. We learned about Zoom calls during COVID. Mm-hmm. Zoom. You know, you can bring in as many people as you want. You can have the biggest screen out there and everybody's got their little block. You do not need to be face-to-face to have these stupid-ass meetings. I mean, they didn't say anything in China anyway.
Well, you know that I'm kind of a cynic sometimes, and I believe that the reason for that is that they want to have meetings face-to-face and they don't want it to be on the record. They want to have meetings with their buddies, their globalist world leader buddies, and they want to be able to talk about what they're going to do without being recorded. That's what I think it is.
Is there not a privacy switch on a Zoom call?
No, but I mean, there may be, but it still all like goes into the database. Somebody could hack into that and theoretically, get access to it.
Good Lord. Somebody could plant a bug at the meeting. I mean, you could blow these things up any which way you want to. So just so you know, for the record, before we leave you today, no longer refer to him as Rainn Wilson. He is now Rainfall, Heat Wave, Extreme Winter Wilson.
Yeah.
Does that fit on a driver's license? I don't know. To be continued. Maybe next time when we talk, the Republicans will actually have the House of Representatives. I mean, it's only been 8 days since Election Day. What's the hurry? Meanwhile, until next week, this is Dale Carter's America.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to dalecartersamerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.